Hello, hello, hello. We are back for another Knowing You show. My name is Tiffany Cano. I'm the founder of Highly Perceptive People Academy, and I've been doing interviews of my empathic, intuitive, spiritual peeps. A lot of them are entrepreneurs, but not everybody is who does these interviews. So if you want to be interviewed, go ahead and connect with me and I'll get you on the show. And today we have Robin Quinn Keehn as our guest. She is an awesome coach. So let me tell you a little bit about Robin. She's a founder of the quitting culture. Quitting. She helps entrepreneurs and business owners get clear on their purpose, develop the mindset of finishing strong, and takes intentional coaching to reach their most personal goals. She's a former music and dance studio owner, a mom of 4 kids, and a business coach. Robin understands the massive impact unintentional quitting, both for children and adults, has on confidence, self-esteem, and results. Using her unique blend of intuition, wisdom, and experience, and her visionary approach, Robin loves to help her clients achieve their goals and live with greater impact, freedom, and joy.
All true.
So, welcome, Robin.
Thank you. Absolutely. It's fun to be here. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. So, do you feel that you are naturally empathic or intuitive? And how does that show up in your life, personally and professionally?
Thank you. Yeah, I do. It's interesting because when I was a kid, I know I was intuitive, but it really wasn't something my parents encouraged. But I've always had these like just knowings, these little downloads that come. It might be in a conversation I'm having, or it could just simply be, about something I'm supposed to do. So I love that. And when I'm paying attention, it's kind of magical, really fun.
Thank you. And what is your business about quitting? Like, is quitting is quitting good? Is quitting bad? What is a quitting culture? Can you give us a little more insight on that?
Yeah, people always ask me, what are you talking about, like quitting what? And so here's how that started. It was kind of it was just this inspiration that I received. When I was growing up, I never got to quit anything. My parents were very sure that I was going to finish whatever I started. So piano lessons all the way through college, right? And then I had kids, and my first daughter, when she was like 3 or 4, wanted to quit preschool, and she was just teeny tiny. And I remember thinking, what? Why does she want to quit preschool? We had a bunch of upset. And I talked to her teacher, and she said, Robin, 2 questions. Is she safe here? And do you value this activity for her? And both answers were yes. And she said, great, then you get to choose what you do and what she does. Fast forward, I had a music and dance studio, and I learned to coach parents in the long-term relationship, meaning there are going to be times when your child's going to love it here, when they're just going to be okay, and when they don't like it, and piano lessons or dance or whatever. And all of those are completely normal experiences for a child. What happens is when we don't know that, then we think there's something wrong when somebody wants to quit. When your child wants to quit ballet and they've been in for 3 weeks or 5 weeks or 4 months and they want to quit, we think, oh, there must be something wrong. It's something wrong with them, the coach, the teacher, the location, the studio, whatever it is. And so we just give in and let them quit. So that's the negative side of quitting, right? That's when we lose confidence. And for kids, they never develop confidence if they continually quit before they get a result. So that's where that came from. And last year, about a year and a half ago, when I launched this, I was on a bunch of podcasts and radio shows, and every single host said, but this is a problem for adults too, right? And I was like, yeah, that's
Yeah. Some adults definitely have that as a problem.
yeah. And so to me, what I've learned is that there is great quitting, like the quitting of things that are not aligned with your purpose in the world, things that aren't aligned with what feels right to you, and learning how to do those accountably so that there's no guilt and there's no damage is really a key. And then you can step more powerfully into the things that you should be doing, that you want to do, that are aligned with your purpose, right? So it's all of that. And that's why the quitting culture, because people need to understand there's great quitting, and then there's quitting that just completely wrecks your confidence. Both.
Okay. So
Yeah.
it's like quitting and letting go and giving up of all the things that don't serve you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
And those are the positive aspects of quitting,
Mhm.
which I can relate to a lot,
Yeah.
with my own life as well as, um, guiding some of my clients and students
Mhm.
to release, let go, stop that behavior. I've never thought of using the word quit that with, but it does fit. And as you were talking about the, little kid wanting to quit piano, I'm like, gosh, I wonder what would have happened if I had stuck with piano, because I only did it for a few months and then I was like, I don't like it or
Right.
something like that. And then I stopped and
Mhm.
my parents didn't, bug me to keep going forward. And then there were some things where they were like, I don't care. You're just going to do it, you know?
Right. Well, and that's the thing. When we're parents, we commit to certain things, and then other things are negotiable, right? And kids get that. They know that they can throw a tantrum about brushing their teeth, but they're still going to have to brush their teeth. But they also know, right? Right. That's not negotiable. But with other activities, if a parent doesn't know why their kids are going, like they haven't said, oh, we want an outcome or a duration, then when a child gets upset, it's just easier to go, okay, forget it. Like, let's just go try something else. That's so normal. That's how we do it until we figure out, oh, but then they're never getting a result and they're not gaining more confidence. They start to tell the story, even because they're little, I'm just not good at anything. Right. And that's exactly what we want to avoid is we want to have kids that actually think of themselves as, hey, I did that. I achieved that. I finished that. I learned that skill. That's way more empowering. And then we take that with us through our life.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, there have been times where I've accomplished a new task, something that is, a new skill, a new task, a new activity. And it was tough and challenging during it. And then afterwards, I was like, yes, I did it. And sometimes it's just even small, like household chores. And I give myself like that extra enthusiasm and like, atta girl, because I know like if I talk to my brain in that way, it'll want to keep, exploring and doing those things.
That is so true, Tiffany. That is a great point, right? Because we need to tell our brain positive things. And you just hit on something that I work with people on too, which is acknowledging. Acknowledging. So for parents, it's giving specific positive feedback on the things that they're liking, but with ourselves too, right? Like we might not think it's a big deal that we finally made that phone call, but I had a phone call yesterday that I've been putting off for a few days and I finally made it. I was like, good job. You took care of it, right? Like,
Mhm.
and then I build that muscle of acknowledging and then I start to feel better about what I'm getting done.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And talk to me about the impact of quitting, especially on kids, and then let's go into adults.
Yeah.
Okay, so can you talk to me more about that?
Yeah, I can. So often what happens, so I want to make it clear first, I'm not saying that we need to make our kids do things that they're absolutely not a fit for. So please don't misinterpret me and think that I'm like, make them do it anyway. That's not how I feel. When they're mature enough to make a decision with you, definitely include your kids in making decisions about their activities. I'm talking about little kids, right? So if you decide that you've got a 4-year-old and she's going to go take at my studio fairy tale ballet, um, and you've decided that she's going to do it for the semester or the session or whatever, make sure she does because she's learning from you what long term commitment means or any type of commitment means. Here's what happens when she gets uncomfortable and she says, I don't want to go anymore. And to be clear, kids, when they don't want to do something, it's usually not like, mommy, I don't want to go anymore. It's not like that. It's like full blown upset. It can get there, right? And so if you say, no problem, we'll quit, we'll go try swimming. And then 5 weeks into swimming, she's like, I don't want to do that either. Now I want to play soccer. And then it's soccer for a couple of weeks, and that's not it. The habit that gets established is I can get my way and I can quit. And kids are just kids. They have no idea of the impact. But the impact for a child is something's wrong. Something's wrong with me. I'm just not good at anything. Even though they're the ones that wanted to quit, they have no idea what's getting triggered in their little brain, which is, I must not be good at anything. And that carries into junior high, where those kids are the ones that become more isolated and don't want to try things and don't want to go anywhere with you. And then in high school, it continues. And then after that, we've got now young adults who don't really believe much in themselves. So it has a huge impact as compared to, hey, we're going to stay around long enough for you to achieve these results. We're going to stay around long enough that we finish something so that you can say, I finished that. That starts to build a story of, I can do whatever I say I can do. I'm good at things. I can finish things. I can achieve things. And that story stays with us for our lifetime as well. So the impact is really big as kids are growing up. And this isn't speculation. I lived in a town of 5,000 people, and we had 500 kids from that town in my studio. And I got to watch them over years, over 20 years, grow up. And I watched the kids that bounced around, and I watched the kids that stuck with it. And the kids that stuck with it, many of them, I just went to my youngest daughter's high school graduation, and those kids and their siblings who were in my studio, I talked to a lot of them. And the siblings that have now graduated from college, they've been kind of like superstars the whole time. And at first I thought, what is this? How come they're all so good? And then I realized those are the kids that believed in themselves and gained in confidence because their parents kept them going when they didn't want to.
I think that's so important to lay that foundation for the growth of the young mind. I remember when my dad, he's a horse trainer, and I remember the first time I fell off, and they made me get right back on that pony, and I didn't want to, but they made me, and I knew like I was not going to get out of it. So I just, quit my tantrum and did it. And it's little things like that that have shaped my resiliency and my stick-to-itiveness that I really appreciate about my parents. So mom and dad, thanks.
And love it in the moment, right, Tiffany? It wasn't like, oh, great, thanks, Dad, for making me.
I was like, thanks. Yeah, and I remember in playing sports, my stepdad, he would take extra time, and work with me outside of practice, and that was such a big confidence boosting thing, so that I would then go bring that back in to everything that I was doing on the team. Yeah.
So you asked about adults. And so I just want to say these patterns that got established when we were kids, we deal with them as adults too. And what I want to say about quitting in adults is it's so important that we know how to quit things accountably so that we are not left with damage when we quit things. And so often we are out of alignment just because we are, right? We don't know better, or we just got off track. Somebody asks us to do something, we say yes. And then we realize this, I really don't want to do this thing, or I'm not going to do this thing. But instead of ending it, we often just kind of slip away and hope nobody notices. But what the brain does with that is it stores it as an incomplete, it's an open loop, right? It's just something I never finished. And so those are the things that disrupt us. It might disrupt our sleep. It might interrupt us in a conversation. It might throw us off when we're thinking of something. And my example is when I first got done with graduate school, I worked at Metro Transit, and I had a secretary, and she's in her 70s now. And I have an agreement with Karen that I will call her a few times a year. And last year, I tried calling her, and her voicemail box was full, and I tried a couple times, and then I just took it off my list. But I was out of alignment or out of integrity with what I said, even though her voicemail wasn't set up. Still not an excuse. I just didn't feel like it. I didn't keep trying. her name is Karen, and I have a lot of friends named Karen. Funny story. And so I'm on the phone with my best friend named Karen, and of course Karen, my secretary, former secretary, comes to mind. I'm like, darn, I need to call her. Somebody emails me, and her name is Karen, and Karen comes to mind, and it's Karen, 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 and it's disruptive. It's so disruptive to my day. So I finally picked up the phone and persisted until I called her, and then I said to her, Karen, I want to let you know I've let you down. I've broken an agreement. Our agreement was that I call you, and she doesn't call me. I call her. That's just the way it rolls with her. And I said, I've not called you. And so the impact it's had on me is I've kind of been hiding from you. I've kind of been avoiding calling you because I'm embarrassed and ashamed for not calling you. And so I'd like to know if we can renegotiate this. Number one, will you forgive me for being out of integrity and not calling you? And can we come up with another agreement that might feel more like a win-win for both of us? And she was like, wow, Robin, I was never upset. I was mostly concerned that I hadn't heard from you. And how can we make this better? Can I call you sometimes? And I was like, yes, let's do that. That feels like a win. So we both share the responsibility now. But when we just slip away, we just live with that open loop. And it's so important to close the open loops with ourselves and with other people so that we live with way more freedom, like more time, more energy, more freedom.
Wow, those are really good points. I mean, even something small like saying, okay, I'll be the one to call you, and then not follow through because of whatever circumstance. I mean, those small little things can do such damage to our psyche. Do you have any other examples?
Well, I can give you an example of what I call letting yourself off the hook. And this one's personal. So I try not to eat sugar. And last September, I said, okay, great, I'm off of sugar again. I'll do this, it'll last just a year or two or something. And then somehow I get back into it and then I go back off of it. So I'd gone off of sugar last September and I was doing great, like no sugar. And then I was up in Canada, in Calgary, for a course with my youngest daughter. She was attending, I was going to be on the team, and COVID happened. And so we landed in Calgary, and then I get a phone call. We canceled the course. We were there for 5 days. And I'm like, oh, what am I going to do now? And then so Ava and I went and did a little shopping or something. And then we went to a store and grabbed stuff and munch on till we could figure out what we were going to do next. And of course, I grabbed sugar, right? And the next day I'm like, wow, Robin, you got into the caramel M&Ms, which I really love. I didn't know it. It was the first time I tried them. And I was like, okay, so there are two ways this could go. One is I could shame myself and be angry with myself for being, into the sugar. For goodness sake, you know better than that. Like every time you eat sugar, you don't feel so good and blah, blah, blah. Or I could just simply acknowledge that I broke an agreement with myself. So basically what my process was, wow, Robin, look at you. You're in the sugar. That's interesting. You made a different decision. And for right now, that's the one that clearly you wanted to make. So you're off the hook. You will go to a different decision when you're ready. And for right now, you just hang on to this one. That's totally fine. You're off the hook. No shame, no guilt. That's all. So what that does, Tiffany, is it eliminates all that negative self-talk that does so much damage and just tells the truth. I'm just telling the truth. I'm into the sugar, and at some point I'll make a different decision, but not for today. In fact, Saturday was the day I'm back off of sugar. It took me a few months.
Wow.
But yeah. So
Good.
it's so freeing when you can have that kind of conversation with yourself.
Yes. I know so many people who beat up on themselves and let those gremlins just chomp all over them when they, just don't follow through on something.
Right.
Yeah, and it is those small, medium, and large size agreements that we make with ourselves and others that, I mean, even those small ones, it's so amazing how great of an impact it can have on us. This is something energetic. I just want to share this. I notice clairvoyantly when people say they're going to do something and then they don't do it. The procrastination energy shrinks their aura, so it's smaller. It shrinks their basic chakra, which is at their sacrum. That's their money maker. That's their, it affects their survival. It affects their health and vitality. And when the procrastination happens, that gets smaller. So they're less energetic. They're less apt to make money and be attracted and magnetic to money. So it has all of these ripple effects, which is why I love, what you're bringing to the table today, because it's really important. It's not just our psyche, but our energy, our health, our vitality, our money, our confidence, our relationships all get affected by this. Do you have any other examples or wisdom on how we can not shame and guilt ourselves when we do something that's out of integrity or break our own agreement to ourselves?
Yeah, well, I think the most important thing is just to tell the truth about it and not try to make up any stories, right? The stories don't help. They're just a justification. So I don't, sure, I could have said, oh, well, the reason I was eating sugar is because I'm stuck in Canada and I don't know when I'm going to get home. And this whole thing just happened and it's upsetting. And I didn't do that. It was like, look, you made a decision. That's all. Like, no backstory, because I don't know about you, Tiffany, but the more I tell stories, the more I can make up stuff that's not helpful. So if I'm just really honest with myself, you made a decision, you're eating sugar. Let's not tell a story. Let's leave it at that. Don't don't excuse it, don't justify it, don't add to it. Just accept that's what it is and let's move on. Let's not tell the story. Let's just move on. Okay, great. And Robin, when you're ready to make a different decision, I trust you. You will make a different decision. And there's no pressure. Now, I want to say one more quick thing. You said small, medium, and large kinds of agreements, promises, and commitments. To be clear and honest, my conversation with Karen, my former secretary, was pretty easy, right? There's no energy between us, upset. She considers it a gift that I call her. I consider it a gift that she's in my life, but there's no more energy. And I have had some very big and difficult conversations that were way more, there was way more on the table or way more on the line with people. And I still take the same approach. Hey, this is what's happened. This is the impact it's had on me, not on you. And I'm not blaming you. It's simply the impact that it's had on me usually is I'm not talking to you, or I'm avoiding you, or I'm embarrassed, or I'm ashamed, or I'm worried about the friendship. And the third thing is how, apologize if that's appropriate. And then how can we create a win-win? And sometimes the win-win is we end the relationship. I mean, that's dramatic, but we could just say we're not going to play this game anymore. We're just going to say this is good and we've cleaned it up and we're going to be done. But usually it's not that dramatic, but it could be. Sometimes it's like sitting down with somebody for a couple of hours and looking at all the different ways we could play this out that would make us both happy. So that's a bigger one. And I've actually been through one of those a couple of years ago, and we probably sat for 3 or 4 hours. And I did think it through before I went, like, what would be a win-win for me? It wasn't in the moment off the cuff. It was like, okay, how am I going to say this? What was the impact? And what looks like a win-win for me, so that at least I had some ideas before I went to the conversation.
Really fantastic. I love how much ownership and responsibility and accountability that you have as you're discussing these. If more people could really take that level of ownership and personal responsibility, we wouldn't be a victim to anything in life. We could really create from a powerful place. So thank you for sharing that.
Wow, you're welcome.
Yeah.
It's made a monumental difference in me and how I relate to myself and how I relate to friends and how I am in my relationships. It's just made a huge difference in my life for sure.
Mm-hmm. And Robin, I know you have a free gift for us. Can you talk to us about that?
Yeah, happy to. So I have a process that I'm happy to give to everyone who's watching now or whenever. It's called the klepto code. Six steps. I know, it's so funny.
What a name.
I love naming things. I'm like the naming queen. So 6 steps to stop stealing from yourself. So
Ooh, that's that. Whoa, whoa, whoa. The klepto code, the 6 steps to stop stealing from yourself. That's awesome. Thank you.
yeah, so it's basically this process that I've just talked about. So klepto with a C, which is grammatically correct or whatever. It's one of the ways to spell klepto, but C, get clarity. L, list all of your outstanding commitments, promises, agreements in one area. Just start in one area. Evaluate those and eliminate, which I just talked about. Prioritize what's left in terms of what's important, what commitments you still want. Take action on those, and then observe and acknowledge what we talked about too. Give yourself credit, like, yeah, I did that. So that's a klepto code. It's really quick and easy to go through. Some videos, a nice little workbook, and it's a repeatable process. So you can do it whenever you need to.
Thank you. And do you mind putting that in the comments for us, the link for it?
Yeah, I can do that. If I put it in the chat, is that where I put it?
In the comments.
Okay, let me go to the comments. Okay. See if I can figure out where to do that, Tiffany. Comments. I'm not sure how to do that, so I can't see how to make a comment.
Okay, let me try it.
Okay.
Well, while I'm doing that, are there any final words you want to share with us?
Yeah, I think just, if you can start noticing where you're out of alignment and start even just making a list of what it is that's bugging you. And I mean, so oftentimes these outstanding commitments, promises, and agreements can be current, but they can also be like way long time ago. So just making it up. Maybe you promised somebody you would help them move and you just didn't make it that day, but you never said anything more. You've just got this you've got this thing hanging out there. That is something that can get cleaned up. So these are little things, big things, they're outdated things. They're 20 years ago or 15 years ago, or they're right now. So they're not just limited to like, what have I committed to now that I don't want to do? What did I commit to and never cleaned it up? So that's an important thing to just consider. And like I said, those are things that interrupt you on phone calls, interrupt you in conversations, wake you up at night. Just that little niggle, somebody's name, and you're like, yeah, right? Super
Yep.
annoying. Yeah, those things.
Thank you so very much. I went ahead and I put your URL in the link. quittingculture.com/Tiffany is my link for your gift. And I appreciate you coming on today. Thank you very, very much.
You're welcome. Thank you for bringing me on, Tiffany. I totally enjoyed it. It was great seeing you again. And yeah, I hope people get, do some work on this and free themselves from all of that excess stuff that they're carrying around.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And for everybody else, stay tuned for the next Knowing You show. And just one little fun announcement. In a half an hour, I start my 6-month mentor training program called Embodiment, Conscious Creation, Love, and Empowerment. And I'm really looking forward to it. I have an awesome group of people. If for any reason you have been on the fence and you're like, okay, I really want to do it, and you take action right away, you can go to embodimentprogram.com to sign up, and I'll still let you in. And I do customize this program for you and the others that are in it. So I hope that you'll join me. And then also this month, we have the Blessings for Humanity I changed the schedule. So starting this month, it's on the 2nd and 4th Wednesdays of the month at 6:00 Pacific. So those are some upcoming things for you. I look forward to seeing you again around campus, virtual campus. Bye for now. Much love.